you, we should do the daf tonight in the tent. Get everybody all like teased up.
What?
We should do the daf tonight in the tent. So everybody thinks we're having a siyum.
That's a good. That would have been a good idea. Should have. Is anybody making their own siyum?
I think Rabbi Horowitz had one already.
Oh yeah.
I think so. Rabbi told me he had one.
I don't know when I'm gonna do it.
Rabbi, you had a siyum already, right?
Yeah.
I hear you.
What did they serve at the CM?
They served a nice cab, asparagus, fries, and a nice, thick, juicy steak.
Ooh, wow.
If it wasn't Wagyu beef, Yossi doesn't want to hear about it.
Well,
Yossi, remember?
Why don't you wait for a different day other than Rosh Chodesh?
Right.
Could have had a different siyum.
Right. You could always have steak on Rosh Chodesh. You don't need to wait for this today.
but we made to see him today. No, it's not waiting. I didn't save to see him.
And you get two steaks.
Take it up, Rabbi, and add it to the list of kindness against the Aguda.
It wasn't a 9-day see him. You know what I mean? We finished. We finished an L. You know, you finished the Shavuos time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little unfair that the Yerushalmi doesn't get on a major siyumim.
No?
New. It says new.
Paris, let's go. Paris, you got the brisket
No.
going? You start now, we can still make it in time.
But yeah, he's got a big fat slab of meat going. Yeah, okay, let's go. Yeah.
Parents, I think that's an old picture.
Oh, I jumped the gun on the CM tonight. You know what I mean? A little bit leftovers if anybody wants. Then I got to wait for Moshe to come back from night sitter. So
Yeah. Okay. Ready to roll? Okay, the last Amud. Last daf, I guess. Where do we leave off? By the Mishna, right? Second Mishna? Yeah. Okay, so the Mishna, the Chaf Aleph on the base on the bottom. Basar kodshim shenitma. So basar of kodshim that became tamei, bein ba'ava tumah, bein b'vlada tumah. Whether it became tamei with an ava tumah or a vlada tumah, bein b'fnei bein b'chutz. Because so there's two variations. There's four variables that are going on in this Mishnah and in the Gemara. There's ava tumah, there's vlada tumah, then there's those are the types of tumas. So, something that became tamei with vlada tumah is obviously much more lenient than something that became tamei with ava tumah. Right? So, but there's both a maila and a chesaron. Right? There's a good thing and a bad thing about ava tumah. Right? The good thing, I mean, it's not good, but the good, if it's there, it became tamei. It's an ava tumah. Then there's nothing really much you're going to do about it. But a vlada tumah, maybe you should remove it from the Beis Hamikdash. Meaning of ava tumah, maybe you should remove it from the Beis Hamikdash because it's a major tumah. Of a lot of tumah, maybe not, because it's not a major tumah. Right? So that's one. And also, if it became tamei inside, so then we could here just leave it inside. But if it became tamei outside, then don't move it inside, leave it outside. Right? So again, those are the four variables. Whether it became tamei with ava tumah or vlada tumah, whether it became tamei in the inside, whether it became tamei in the outside.
What's the chelik ava to vlad?
So the Gemara is going to discuss it. It's going to be a machlokes whether vlada tumah is derabanan or not a derabanan.
No, but what's
Right?
the metzias?
So what I mean, the metzias is that if something becomes tamei with an ava tumah, so then it's a problem. it's more of a problem. It's a derabanan problem. And if it comes tamei with a vlada tumah, meaning derabanan, it's not tamei. Right? So therefore, it's less of an issue if derabanan, it's not tamei. Let's see how it plays out. So again, so Beis Shammai says, Beis Shammai hakol yisara b'fnim, everything gets burned inside. So the kodshim, whether it became tamei with avatuma or less chomer with a vlada tumah, whether it was inside the Beis Hamikdash or outside the Beis Hamikdash, right? Beis Shammai holds. It doesn't mean the Beis Hamikdash. They're both in the. One is inside the heichal, one is not. So Beis Shammai hakol yisara. You burn everything inside. Right? If it became tamei with an avatuma on the outside, then you don't bring it inside, right? Because that's too much. It's an avatuma that was outside of the heichal, right? And there's no reason to bring such a level of tuma inside the heichal, right? He says the opposite. I'll call you sarah b'chutz. Everything should be burned outside. If something became tamei with a vlada tumah, which is not so strict, and it was already inside, so then just leave it inside. Right? That's the second shita. So Beis Shammai is two opposites. Rabbi Lezer says, "Shenitma ba'avatuma." Anything that became tamei with avatuma, bein b'fnim, bein b'chutz, yisarah b'chutz. If it has a very strong tumah because it became tamei with the highest level of tumah, then whether it was inside or whether it was outside, you burn it on the outside. Shenitma b'flada tumah, but it became tamei with a less chomer dika tumah, bein b'chutz, bein b'fnim, whether it was outside, whether it was inside, you saw it b'fnim, you burn it on the inside. The fourth shita is that wherever you burn it, wherever it became tamei, that's where you burn it, right? So again, four shitas: Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Akiva. Okay, so Zog the Gemara, Bar Kapara says avatuma is dvar Torah, vlada tuma midivrayim. Something that became tamei with avatuma, that's deoyraysa. So that's why it's much more strict. And a vlada tuma is a derabanan. Yeah, Rabbi Yochanan Amar bein zeh dvar Torah. Rabbi Yochanan disagrees, and he says that they're both derabanan. So the problem with Rabbi Yochanan is how's he understanding if they're both derabanan? So how's he understanding the difference between avatum and vladatum, which the Gemara is going to ask. So the kasha to Rabbi Yochanan al the Beis Shammai is a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan's pshat from Beis Shammai. The Beis Shammai, hakol yisara b'fnim, everything gets burned inside the heichal, chutz mishanitma ba'avatuma b'chutz, except something that became tamei with an avatuma outside. Right, so ma bein avatuma b'chutz, ma bein vladatuma b'chutz. According to Rabbi Yochanan, what's the difference between something that became tamei with an avatuma outside or a vladatuma? They're the same level. I mean, they're not the same level of tumah, but they're both tumas deraisas. Right? Zevezel lo idvar Torah. Right? Again, this is the Yerushalmi's way of talking. Are these not dvar Torah? Right? Meaning, if you're looking at in the Bavli way of reading, it would say both of these are not dvar Torah, but that's not the way the Yerushalmi goes. Zevezel lo idvar Torah. Are both of these not dvar Torah? They're both dvar Torah. So what's the difference? Why they became tamei? So that's a kasha from Beis Shammai's din onto Rabbi Yochanan. But feel on the Beis Hillel like kasha, and even on Beis Hillel is it not a kasha? The Beis Hillel Omar, hakol yisar b'chutz, everything gets burned outside. Chutz v'shenitma b'vladatum b'fnim, except something that became tamei with a vladatum inside. Ma bein vladatum b'fnim, ma bein avatum b'fnim. Zevazei lo dvar Torah. What's the difference if it was a vladatum on the outside? Or vladatum on the inside of the Beis Hamikdash, or avatum on the inside of the Beis Hamikdash? Are they both not dvar Torah? They're both dvar Torah. So why should the halacha change? Right. So that's the kasha of Yochanan. So now the Gemara is going to go after bar kapara. Lo'ihava b'rabanan el dvar kapara. Did the Rabbanan only learn pshat and Mishna like kapara b'kasha? But there's a kasha. The bar kapara al the Beis Shammai. There's a problem with bar kapara's understanding of Beis Shammai too. Why? The Beis Shammai Yarim Hakol Yisara B'fnim. Beis Shammai says everything has to get burned inside the Beis Hamikdash, chutz mishenitnu ba'avatuma b'chutz, except something that becomes tamei with an avatuma on the outside. Ma bein avatuma bein b'chutz bein b'fnim zev v'zeh lo divrei Torah. Right? What's the difference according to Bar Kapara? Whether it's an avatuma in the inside or the outside, zev v'zeh lo divrei Torah. Aren't they both? I'm sorry, I read it the Bavli way. Zev v'zeh lo divrei Torah. Are these not divrei Torah? They're both divrei Torah, right? Because he's again, but according to Beis Shammai, we're being machal between avatum b'fnim and b'chutz. What's the difference? Are they not both divrei Torah? So Gemara answers: begin the Rabbi Akiva Amar. So Beis Shammai was going with Rabbi Akiva's svara that makam to masay shamte esrei fasei, because like Rabbi Akiva said in the last line in the Mishna, Rabbi Akiva said that wherever it became tamei, that's where you burn it. You don't start moving things around. It's almost like it's bashert. If Hashem meant it to be burned over there, so then to become tamei over there, then that's where it should be. That's where it should be burned. Right?
So is Rabbi Akiva not getting involved in the whole? It seems like he's not getting involved in the whole what type of tumah it is.
Correct. Exactly.
It's irrelevant to him.
Rabbi Akiva is not. What do you call?
He's not dealing with Ava Tumah and Vlada Tumah. He's just saying,
correct.
Okay,
he's just telling the
happens.
place. But Beis Shammai, but Beis Shammai holds like Rabbi Akiva and not like Rabbi Akiva. He holds like Rabbi Akiva when it comes to the Ava Tumah, but he's not going to hold like him when it comes to the Vlada Tumah. Right? Or outside the Beis Hamikdash. Right? He's partially holding Rabbi Akiva and he's partially not.
So
Bafilu, and then the Gemara continues. Bafilu al the Beis Hillel like kasha, and then there's no kasha from Beis Hillel either. I'm sorry, I read it again like the Bavi. Bafilu al the Beis Hillel like kasha. Is it also not a kasha from Beis Hillel? The Beis Hillel Amar kol yisara b'chutz chutz mishenit v'la tumah b'fnim, because Beis Hillel says that everything gets burned outside except what became tamei from a vlada tumah b'fnim. Ma bein vlada tumah bein b'fnim bein b'chutz zev v'zeh devrayim. Are they both not derabanan? Right? So why are you being mechalek between inside and outside? So then we're going to say Beis Hillel goes like Reb Shimon. So Gemara says begin to Reb Shimon. He's going with Reb Shimon because begin to Reb Shimon. He's going with Reb Shimon that machaloi umashka shal metzoras b'shtachin chutz l'shalish machanes, that the food, it's this week's parsha, right? That the food and the drink of a metzoras gets sent out to all three machnas. From the main, they has to get totally sent out. So what we're learning is that, so we learn out from this that any sort of tumah has to be taken out of the Beis Hamikdash. Right? So that's why you have to get rid of it. If it was on the outside, then it stays on the outside. If it was on the inside and it's a vlada tumah, so it's not so strict, then it can stay. And otherwise, it has to be sent out. Okay, so those are the four. That's the kitzer. The four sheet is what to do with what to do with tumah, and it's based on what it became tamei with and where it became tamei. Fine. Next Mishnah, last Mishnah. Eivarei tamid. So the limbs of the tamid, nitnin mechatze kevesh ulamata. What they do is because basically what happens is they need to bring the stuff that they have to burn on the Beis Hamikdash, so they have to bring it onto the Mizbeach, and then they go do other work, and then they'll go back and take it from the halfway up the Mizbeach and bring it on further up, right? So they put it halfway up the Mizbeach, the ramp of the Mizbeach, which was the length of 32 amos, and they would put it on the Ma'ariv side. Again, the Ma'ariv on the west side of the ramp, Shamus Safin, and the Musaf korbanos nitnin mechatze kevesh ulamata. The Mizrach, they do it on the east. Sharosh Chadashim, nitnin al karkom mezbeach malamala. But the Rosh Chodesh, they put it on the karkom. That's the walkway that we had this a couple of days ago. On the walkway of the Mizbeach. So that and then they went. That's where they put it there temporarily, and then they took it from there later on. They went to do their business in the Beis Hamikdash, davening or whatever it is that they did. They went back and brought it up.
Why?
Yeah.
Why didn't they
Why
just
didn't they
do
just
the
bring it
carbon?
straight?
Yeah, what are they doing?
Because I think they needed to put it somewhere.
Why?
So why half? I don't know.
Why did they stop?
I think they had other things to do first. I don't know why.
What did they do? What did they do? There's a carbon sibber.
No, what I mean, what was daiche? That's what you're asking.
Yeah, why did they stop in the middle? Like, they have to do another thing that's confusing. I mean, they have to make sure that 100% of everything done in the base of makdish is confusing.
I think from what I remember, is that they had to daven first.
Religion is a private matter when they're doing
yeah, and first of all,
Only the matter.
well, I don't know if it was davening or say Kriya Shema. So I don't know why they put it halfway, but it seems like they brought it there. Then they went and they were Isaac and Kriya Shema, and then they went back and brought it up.
And
They bring down also that they performed the burning of the ketairos and they lit the menorah. So there's also other avodas that needed to be done, I guess, before they burnt the Ivar.
They had 400 kahanim walking around. It's 5 o'clock in the morning.
It could be they weren't supposed to burn the Ivar until they did these other.
I guess.
I don't know the seder of the avodas. I'm saying could be these avodas took place before that, which was supposed to take place before they burned the Ivar. I don't know.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's what it has to be. That's what you have to say. Yeah. But why it couldn't be like that? Why it had to be like that? I don't know. But anyway, so that's what they did. Then hashkolim va'bikurim ain't a noheg and el b'fnei habayis. Shkolim and bikurim are not noheg only b'fnei habayis, right? Ava meiser dagon, but meiser from grain, meiser behema and meiser behema u'b'chayros and b'char noheg and bein b'fnei habayis, bein shalei b'fnei habayis. It's noheg whether it's in front of the base of mikdash or it's not in front of the base of mikdash, right? So yes, that's why we have to do the trumas and meises nowadays, even though we don't have a base of mikdash, right? And bechor, right? So bechor, what do you do with bechor? So that what they do is they make a goya shutuf, right? They make the goya shutuf. So that therefore it's potter from bechor, right?
It's Yaakov, that whole discussion about carbon seber being possibly being even brought nowadays, would that tie into shkolim?
Why?
Because the whole reason why you don't need to bring shkolim nowadays is because there's no Indian carbon seber.
Right.
So if you hold that, there's still episodes of here because there's yesh makam to go ahead and bring korbanos even nowadays. Why would shkolim be butler?
I hear. I don't know. She's saying, I'm not sure.
It would only be for carbon sebers, correct?
Right. Okay, so let's see. There's a master dog on meiser behema b'chayros noheg and bein b'fnei habayis, bein shalei b'fnei habayis. Fine. Hamakdish shkolim bikurim. Let's say somebody did it nowadays. Hareza hekdesh. So the Tanakama says it becomes hekdesh. Shimon bikurim kodesh ain't a kodesh. Shimon disagrees. He says by bikurim, if you make a kodesh, it's not kodesh. Mashma, and we're going to see in the Gemara, but here it's mashma. Reb Shimon would say by shkolim it is, because he only says by bikurim it's not. Right? Okay, so let's say the Gemara. Ezo karkov mezbeach. What exactly is the karkov of the mezbeach? Amma bein keren lekeren. It's an amma between one corner and the other corner. Makom hiluch ragli kahanim. That's where the kahanim walk. So that's where they put the musaf, the korban, right? The Rosh Chodesh, right? The korbanos of Rosh Chodesh. Fine. Musfei Shabbos, Musfei Rosh Chodesh, Mikodim. When they had to bring the musaf of Shabbos and musaf of Rosh Chodesh, which one came first? So Yirmi Yasavar Meimar Musfei Shabbos, Musfei Rosh Chodesh, Musfei Rosh Chodesh Koimin. Rabbi Yirmiyah thought that Rosh Chodesh should come first, right? So what's a pshat? Chayli de Rabbi Yirmiyah min hada. So he thought he could bring it from this, that Shiro Shel Shabbos, Shiro Shel Rosh Chodesh, when they had to sing the shir, right? So we have shir Shel Yom, right? There's different shir that they sang every day. So when it was Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh, it was a different shir. So when it was Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh, shir Shel Rosh Chodesh koydem, the shir of Rosh Chodesh came first. So just like the shir of Rosh Chodesh came first, so too the korbanos of Rosh Chodesh also came first. Yeah, so Amar Rav Yoisa, Shani hi taman. There is different. Damar Rav Chia b'shem Rav Yochanan kidei lefarsam alaydiya shel Rosh Chodesh. Now the reason why they sang the song of Rosh Chodesh is to let everybody know that it's Rosh Chodesh, right? And then everybody knows, because back then it wasn't like our calendars where it popped up in your app and your siddur or whatever it is. Nobody knew that, overnight or whatever it was. The Bezim could have been makdish the Chodesh. So if all of a sudden you hear the Rosh Chodesh song being played, then everybody would know it's Rosh Chodesh. So it was more important to do that than Shabbos. But other than that, it shouldn't be. So it shouldn't be first. So derabanan. So how did they do it? Okay, well, let's really have to let's skip these lines. Baram, right? Baram. Skip towards the end of the line. It says Baram Hacha Musaf Shabbos Musaf Rosh Chodesh. But here, when Musaf Shabbos and Musaf Rosh Chodesh, Musaf Shabbos koydem, Musaf of Shabbos comes first. Al Shem, because of what we call Kala Tadar Mechaveru koydem es Chaveru. Anything that comes more common goes first, which we call Tadar V'Sheina Tadar koydem. So that's why Shabbos is much more. There's 50 Shabbos, 52 Shabbos, whatever it is. And there's only 12 Rosh Chodesh. So therefore, or 12 or 18 Rosh Chodesh. So therefore, back then there was 12. So that's why you can't bring raya from one to the other. Fine. Shkalim and bikurim. High shkalim, kedusha. These shkalim from Reb Shimon, right? Reb Shimon said, if somebody says bikurim is kodesh, it's not kodesh. Mashma, that shkalim is kodesh. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda, Reb Shimon Yehuda said in the name of Reb Shimon, Bain elu loy kodshim. No, they both don't come hekdesh nowadays. Fine. Now it's interesting, Taka, that a lot of people say, some poskim, I don't know a lot, but many poskim say that when you're going to give the machzis shekel before Purim, you're not supposed to say, I'm giving machzis shekel. Right? They say you should say, I'm giving zeicher le machzis shekel. Because if you say you're giving machzis, you're going to give machzis a shekel, then you were just makadish the shekel. You were just makadish, and now what are you going to do with this money? Right? So like what are you saying?
It's like buying the meat at Pesach time.
Right. Same thing with the Pesach. Don't say the meat is for Pesach. Right. Exactly. So they say you should say zeicher le machzis a shekel. Although the poskim say lemaisa, everybody knows in their das that they're not giving machzis a shekel. Nobody thinks that they're giving it to the Beis HaMikdash. So it's not really a problem, but to get around it. So you say this is zeicher l'machzis shekel. Yeah. One thing is for sure, the people that pronounce the words correctly, l'chayra, those the same guys that are saying zeicher l'machzis shekel. That was from the previous shir that we were learning. But there's certain types that are going to make sure to say zeicher l'machzis shekel. Okay, fine. Tani ger bezman hazeh. So if somebody becomes a ger, so he needs mila, he needs tefillah, he also needs to bring a korban. So what about a ger bezman hazeh? Obviously, you can't bring the korban. So ger bezman hazeh tzarich lavi kinoi revius kesef. He needs to bring his birds, right? Which is a quarter of silver. Some Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon says, "Bitla Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakai mipnei hatakala." Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakai was mevatel this, meaning the Gemara is saying that the ger had to put away the money, and that Be'ezus Hashem, the Beis HaMikdash comes, then it would be then he would have to take this money and bring his korban. But Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakai was mevatel it because people ended up using the money, and then it was a problem. So mahu mipnei hatakala. Right? What does it mean? The Tani ein makdishin v'loy marichin v'loy machrimin v'loy magbiin chumas u'maisas b'zan hazeh. We don't make hekdesh nowadays. We don't make erchin nowadays. That's to evaluate somebody. V'loy machrimin, and we also don't do erchin goes on people. Charimin goes on objects. You say like, oh, my grill is now part of the Beis HaMikdash or something like that. and you don't lift up trumas and ma'ases on azeh, v'im hekdesh, oy herech, oy hichrim, oy bia, haksus tisarif, if it's clothing, if you did do this, then the clothing gets burned. Ha-behema ti'akar, the behema is literally means uprooted. How? Ketzad noel b'fanei hadelis, you lock the door in front of the animal, and it dies by itself. Right? V'hamois yalchu Yamamelech, and the money goes to Yamamelech. So that's the pshat, because it's so you see that it is a concern for takala. So that's why Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakai stopped this business of the ger separating his money. Fine. Over the hekdesh, right? Let's say he was over and he was makdish it. Right? Meaning Rabbi Yochanan, let's say the ger, decide he's doing it anyways. So min ma doma Reb Shimon. So from what we learned from Reb Shimon, bit Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakai b'nei takala. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakai was mevatel because of the takala. Hada amra over v'hekdesh kachu. But it's mashma that if you were over on Rabbi Yochanan, he made a takana, but it's mashma that if you were over on it, then you're over. So fine, Rabbi Yehuda. Then the problem is if you're going to say that you're over and it becomes hekdesh, then there's going to be a stira. Rabbi Yehuda on Tudaria. Boy, come here, Rabbi Yosi. He asked the question from Rabbi Yosi. Hacha at Omar. Here you say now on tamei hacha at Omar kitchu. Here you say that the money is hekdesh for hacha at Omar loy kitchu. But you just said in the Mishna, the Reb Shimon said that the money is not hekdesh. So which one is it? Is the money hekdesh or the money not hekdesh? Meaning he's asking the stira from all the way around, from the ger's money and from the machzas hashekel. So Amalei, so he said. Tamon over there, lakachin makdish lechatchila. By the shkalim, the reason why you can't make a shekel lechatchila is lefisha mitzvah lahakra mitruma chadasha. What do you do with the shekels? Like we've been learning, you take that year's shekel that came that year to pay for that year's korbanos. Pei yishana, and this is going to become an old, right? If let's say a guy gives a shekel now, and then Bez Hashem the Mizbeach gets built. So this shekel could very well end up being last year's money, which is never going to get used, right? For hacha, but by the ger, my islachal, we're going to say hayisheni. It's old. Gabi hekdesh is acher b'kina shel ger, right? By other hekdeshes and kina shel ger, and it's chadash. It doesn't need to be new. Vim hekdesh kodesh. So then memela, if you make it hekdesh, then it's going to be kodesh. Meaning he's saying that by other korbanos, if somebody makes it hekdesh, it's going to stay hekdesh, because what's the damage that's going to come from it? Eventually, you'll have to bring it whenever the mezbeach gets the Beis Hamikdash gets built. You'll have to bring it. But the machzas hashekel, unless it's the mezbeach, unless the Beis Hamikdash gets built this year, your shekels are not going to go towards anything anyways. They're going to go out. Then nobody's going to use them because we don't use last year's shekel. So then the Gemara says, "V'yinichena," right? Ad sheyivne Beis Hamikdash, right? So why don't you leave it until the Beis Hamikdash will to be built, right? And then, meaning, I think the Gemara's kasha here is that maybe it's going to be built this year, right? I think, or there's two ways that I feel to learn. Either that, or the pshat is that use it for something else, right? So anyway, so the Gemara says no. Shema yibne bayis per maybe it's going to be built. The Beis Hamikdash is going to be built like it was in the beginning, which is when in Nisan, which is quite interesting that we're learning this in the last day of Nisan, right? So maybe the Beis Hamikdash is going to be built like it was in Nisan. V'titrum truma salishka min hachadash b'zmana be'echa b'Nisan, and they're going to use the new trumas, the new money from Nisan. Right, but here by the ger's money, there's no problem, right? Because why? What? So what? But meaning the shkalim, it's going to automatically be old right away, right? Meaning again, the Beis Hamikdash will hopefully be built on the first day of Nisan, the way it was originally, and your shekel right then and there is going to be considered old, right? Because you had your shekel from before. Fine. So Rav Amnuna v'Rav Ada bar Ava b'Shem Rav halacha Reb Shimon. The halacha is like Reb Shimon. and which is that the bikurim doesn't work, and the korban and the matzah shekel does work. Rabada bar Rabba Nuna, Rabada bar Achua, b'shem Rav, halacha Reb Shimon. The halacha is like Reb Shimon, and the Tikkun Chanan says, and the same thing would be with the ger. If the ger is makdish his money, then that's also going to be Hadron Allah, Perakol Aroikon, Usigula, Mesech the Shkolim. Okay, Mazel Tov, the island survived Shkolim. Yeah, we'll start Yuma tomorrow, Bez Hashem. I can't say that the first couple of blocks of Yuma are so easy either. L'chaim Perak.
Simchas.
Okay, we can let the Olam know that the Bavlians, they can come back. Somebody should post that the Bavlians could come back. Whoever. Yeah. Anyways, all right.
I'll post it.
Gesund, and everyone should be matzliach.
Amen.
Thank you. Shikayu.
All right.
Thank you. Mazel tov.
Yeah, Mazel Tov to Olam. Yeah, I'm gonna
Do I
jump.
say the whole hadron without the kaddish?
You want to say we don't have a minion.
No, I'm saying without the kaddish. We should say hadron.
You could say it. You want to say it? I don't know. You're right. I didn't think about it. Mordechai.
Mazel tov. Wow,
yeah.
what a gewalt.
To you too. I don't know.
Many more mesechtes. Made it this
Hey.
point. Make it to the end.
Amen. Well, I'm gonna jump to Myra. If you want to do the hadron, gesund hate. I'll do the hadron later. So I can chapsh my esrei. It'll
No, good. I didn't mean
Yeah.
the chalam ve'ed. I meant stam. We should all say it.
Well, Charlie, you should say 100%. You should say it 100%. All right. Mazel tov
I
to the
don't,
Olam.
I don't feel comfortable enough saying it. Not for Shkolim, I'm sorry. Not for Shkolim.
I hear you, parrots.
Yeah. All right. Mazel tov.
All right, mazel tov. Many
Mazel
more.
tov.
Mazel tov, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See y'all tomorrow.
Mazel tov.
Kol tov.